Why development matters. Doesn't matter where we are in the world, babies are born every day. However, we seem to be really messing up this feature in life, and babies are starting to get a really rough start. So that's the first reason why we need to worry about development. Babies aren't there to overcome obstacles. We might be, and sometimes we're not that good at it still. But babies don't work that way. If they find a movement difficult, or it hurts them, or it's uncomfortable, whatever is the vocabulary, they're just not going to do it. A baby that has an IV in them and so forth, and they're trying to do their first movements, and they're unable to do so, they don't say, hey, when I'm home, I'm going to try this one again. They will immediately start to deviate their movement. They won't go back and experience it. So first of all, when there's any kind of hospital intervention per se, there's automatically going to be a deviation to the movement, right? It's sort of like falling, when you're older and you fall, and it's like, oh, be careful, don't do that again, it hurts. And you start to deviate. This is what really brings down adults, and we start calling them senior citizens because they become cautious, right? It's their intelligent brain. They did it once, they're not going to do it again, but at the same time too, they're preventing a lot of movements that are meant to happen, and their bodies break down real quickly. The same scenario is happening more and more with babies today, and we really need to get on top of development and stop it. So when these deviations start to happen, and your baby is not on track or not going for optimal development, that's when everybody starts saying, well, all babies are different. They are when they need assistance or special needs, whatever you want to call it. I'm not here to diagnose your child with global delays, right? There's variations of delays from speech and dyslexia all the way to major global delays, and the baby really not being able to go into development. But struggling with development is different than not being able to do development. And deviating or using muscle or force-based movements versus weight transfer is a different way of looking at development. So that's why I'm here to sit there and trying to tell you that all babies should be kind of equal. They go right into an absolute horizon and a tummy time. That's their first month. The second month, they're really starting to look at you. Third month, now they're going into rolling over. Fourth month, they're going into grabbing their feet with the pump, doing those kind of things. The fifth month, that's when you have about 5.5 months, you have independent sitting. Not prop sitting, independent sitting. But at 6.5 months, they come to sitting through their backs. At 7 months, they're going into all fours, in and out of all fours from the sitting. By 8 months, your child is crawling. By 9 months, they are crawling and they're starting to reach and cross that midline. And you might start to see that lift, right? And by that 9 months and so forth, now they're crossing over, they're lifting up, and they're doing all these things. 10 months, they've really got it down where they can go, and they're starting to look. They have upper quadrant, and they're starting maybe to toe kneel, and that by 11 months they're going into standing, not pulling to standing. And by 12 months, they're starting to go into that couple of steps, wobbles, cruise, and even a walk. That's what we're looking for optimal development. When you're looking at a lot of other diagnostic tools, first of all, they're not evaluating their baby. Second of all, they're just, again, expecting the child to get it. But the problem is when you're waiting on that and you're not involved in it or you're not on top of it, then if they don't get it, now we've got the gap, right? So like they say in England, before you're getting on the subways, when they say mind the gap, that's what we're here for. We're here for you to mind that gap. Understanding development and where your child's at. First of all, we evaluate. We evaluate for vision and everything else. Now, not saying that, I'm not an ophthalmologist, but I evaluate for functional vision. And I look for movement. The Newborn Movement Assessment has been around since 2016, published on Amazon, but the course is free on my site because I just want all babies to be okay. My objectives is for all babies to be okay, or and you have a plan from day one. If they're not, or there's something you need to work on. That's my objective, right? There's a course for every milestone here, everything like that to go into it. But it's understanding that when your child is becoming behind or delayed, and there's developmental delays, then there's also global delays. There's also birth trauma. right? Going into a CP. That's a different type of delay because now you have muscle spasticity. And then you have rare genetics. Technically or typically it's low tone, but there are some like rare genetics like Rett syndrome and so forth that have a high tone effect to them. And that's a different type of delays. Delays of birth trauma and rare genetics, you're getting in more what I call can't versus can't. It's not that they can't do something or they're not able to go into crawling. They just physically can't. Either the structure of their body, the structure of their muscles, or something like that is preventing it, where they can't do it versus that they just don't even, some don't even know how to possibly do it. And these are, again, are different forms of delays. Knowing what type of child you have. Are they stiff? Are they floppy? Those kind of conversations will continue to happen, but they're happening at a rate of increase like you wouldn't believe. You didn't even know what even special needs was or developmental delays or global delays or any of these things prior to having your child. I certainly did not. And why should you? You know, it wasn't supposed to happen, but it's happened. But it's happening more and more and more. When you can look back at your childhood, more so me because I'm old, but I didn't know any of this, right? I knew one case of cerebral palsy and one case of a global delays. Paul's sister jumped in a lake and broke her spinal cord, things like that. But it just wasn't as rampant as it is now. And so I will be as in your face as possible to help you understand development and make you understand that it is just movement, but the movement needs help. And when it doesn't get help, they're not going to figure it out on their own. And so that's when also you get into the quality. Like a major one is like getting into all fours. Getting into all fours happens when the child comes to sitting through their back, and then from sitting, they go into all fours. It's not rolling over and pushing up. That is a typical... that is a totally different type of development. That's not getting into all fours. And that's where people have the problems with the club crawl, the army crawl, the asymmetrical crawl. All those kind of things creep in because your child's rolling for their belly and pushing up versus coming to sitting through their back. We're not meant to miss milestones. I don't care what continent you're from. The milestones are the same and they should be time dictated. We need to stop and go away from baby-dictated development. It's not the way the body works. Babies need to be on time, on track, and if they're not, they're going to need a little bit of help or a lot of help, and that's where the parents come into play. And by waiting for the system to suddenly say, oh, I'm telling you guys, they're not helping you, and you're not in control. Here, I want you to be in control. Post your questions, post your videos. That's what it's here for. Thanks.